I used to think, for whatever reason, that Megyn Kelly was one of the more reasonable voices on the conservative right, but lately it's been becoming incredibly difficult to defend that position. That's certainly not the case. She by no means is one of the more reasonable voices on the right. She's been under heavy scrutiny recently because she had an interview with Batya Ungar Sargon, however you pronounce that. I apologize if I mispronounced it. But she had an interview with her, and they discussed the Epstein emails and they discuss Trump's implication within the emails. And her takes are just, I guess we'll watch it together and you guys let me know what you think.
This is from Epstein to Michael Wolff, January 31st, 2019. Victim, redacted, Mar-a-Lago. Redact. I don't know what's in there. It doesn't say victim, so he's saying something else. Comma, or period. No idea what was redacted. Then he writes, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. So he's trying to say Trump wanted me to resign from Mar-a-Lago, but I was never a member of Mar-a-Lago. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Now, that's the most incriminating thing that's in any of these emails, but we have no idea what it means. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. Stop what? Is this Trump found out that Epstein liked him young, something Trump has said himself on camera, and he went to Ghislaine to say, whatever you're doing, stop? Because that doesn't make Trump look bad.
Yeah.
This is one of the ways that you kind of know that MAGA has become a cult, that it's not a matter of MAGA is just a legitimate political position on the right, but rather that it's a cult. Whatever Trump says, they would just blindly believe. Because in their heads, a realistic scenario that could be occurring here is that Trump was a hero of sorts in all of this, that Trump not only disagreed with what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, but he tried to put a stop to it. He tried to become the hero. So even though everyone else reads these emails and recognizes that Trump looks really bad and he is complicit in the activities of Jeffrey Epstein, at the very least in terms of knowing what was going on. And given everything else that we know about Trump, given all of the emails, for example, like the birthday letter from Trump to Jeffrey Epstein on his 50th birthday that was uncovered by the Wall Street Journal that Trump consistently claimed didn't exist, only for the congressional committee to subpoena the Epstein estate, and then it's released and it's true. You look at the pattern of denial on Trump. Trump has been doing everything he can to stop the release of these files up until the last second where he was forced to concede and just tell them to release the files, which makes everyone concerned that they're tampering with the files. But the pattern of Trump's behavior makes it like incredibly unlikely that Donald Trump is somehow a hero in all of this, that the person who said that you should just grab women by the guy who just recently called a female reporter a piggy, yeah, that guy somehow is a hero in these files, in the Epstein file scenario. Not to mention the other Epstein emails that contradict Trump's claims about Epstein, that he stopped speaking to him like over 15 years ago, that he was never on the island, he was never on the plane. All of those claims by Donald Trump have been contradicted by these emails. Jeffrey Epstein has referred to himself as the one person that can take down Trump. He has referred to Trump as a horrible human being. So if you're just a reasonable person looking at all this information, it doesn't look good for Trump.
It's so interesting because to me, that sounds exactly like something we already knew, which is it's been reported that the reason he asked Epstein to stop coming to Mar-a-Lago was because he would hit on the daughters of the members. Like that was like out there reported. So I don't see how this is incriminating at all. It suggests that Trump, like you said, knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked them young and didn't approve of it. So we don't know when Jeffrey was talking about in that moment. So I don't really see this.
Right.
And honestly, I think Trump's instincts are so spot on about this because to me, it seems like all of the energy around the Jeffrey Epstein files is really coming from Democrats who hate Trump and hate Trump voters. And then people who are in the content business for whom before Trump was elected, this was a really big topic. This generated a lot of interest from people. But now that Trump is the president, if you look at public opinion polling of Republicans, they're just not that interested in this. And I think Trump just feels like he can ride this out and why feed it? Because it's only his enemies making hay out of it. And the mainstream media just does not have that same power that it used to have. Megyn, you have all that power now to set the agenda.
Gosh, she has to be lying. She has to be lying. Jesus, she's so. I've seen this person debate once against Destiny on the Israel-Palestine issue, and she came across as someone who tried to be in the center, just just wants to understand both sides. And yet, conveniently, every single position that she would take would be a far right position, to the point where she would be speaking very highly of Marjorie Taylor Greene, a crazy conspiracy theorist who recently has gone against Trump. So I wonder what her opinion on Marjorie Taylor Greene is now. But everything that she said is a lie. Like, none of that is true. This is what makes me wonder if these people are grifters. First of all, there are no reports at all that back the claim that she's making. So she made the claim that there were reports that Donald Trump found out about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing regarding trafficking these women, and that he disagreed with it morally and he told them to stop. There are no reports coming from that. That's something that Donald Trump might have said, but there are no actual credible report. Shouldn't even say credible. There are no reports of this at all. She just lied about this. What the reports do say is that Jeffrey Epstein kept poaching people, kept poaching employees that worked at Mar-a-Lago, most notably Virginia Giuffre. And that's what was annoying Donald Trump, was that Jeffrey Epstein kept taking away his girls. Not that he disagreed with what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Remember, one of the emails, Epstein claimed that Donald Trump was alone with Virginia Giuffre's for hours at his mansion. He also did claim that Donald Trump was salivating over these little girls in a pool, and he like ran into the window because he just kept looking at them. People like her are the reason why so many people are uninformed about the Epstein files. People like her are the reason why so many people actually think that the Epstein files don't say anything about Trump. They actually unironically think that Epstein somehow exonerated Trump in these emails, when in reality, if you actually read the emails, they say the opposite. And then the other thing that she lied about was that the only people interested in this are Democrats, and that Republicans don't really care about this. This just isn't true. Remember, Donald Trump campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. He campaigned on this. He campaigned on the idea that the government is filled with these pedophilic Democratic elites, and that he's going to get to the bottom of this. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to release the files, and we're going to get justice for all of the victims. That's what he campaigned on, and that's what Republicans spoke about nonstop, over and over and over again. Only for Donald Trump to win the election, and then just it's gone. Then all of a sudden, there's no Epstein client list. Jeffrey Epstein did unalive himself, and there's nothing more to see here, that we should move on from this conversation. That is the sequence of events that occurred, and that's why everyone is so incredibly suspicious. Did you lie about the Epstein files yourself, or are you trying to cover yourself up? And the fact that Donald Trump has done every single thing imaginable to ensure that these files are not released. That's why everyone is so incredibly suspicious of Donald Trump. And not only that, but now that we do have the release of all these emails, and we have caught Donald Trump again lying about his involvement with Epstein, people are even more suspicious. Let me show you the polls regarding what Republicans actually think about Epstein. She's claiming that Democrats are the only ones that really care about the Epstein files, that Republicans by and large don't care about it, so therefore Donald Trump should just kind of like, yeah, just whatever, release them, I guess, or just stop caring, or like, that the media should stop caring about this. But that's just not true. 31% of Republicans disagree with the way in which Donald Trump has been handling the Epstein files. 31% of Republicans, and then 25% were either unsure or did not answer. And this is just, by the way, this is just them saying that they disagree with how he's handling it, that they disagree with the fact that he's refusing to release the files. This doesn't mean that they don't care. Again, Republicans are falling for it. A lot of Republicans have fallen for the idea that Donald Trump said release them, and so therefore he's not in them. You see, he does want them released. He just wanted to do it, procedurally. He just wanted to make sure that he does this procedurally, that everything is done procedurally, even though he's literally done nothing else procedurally. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to following the rules and regulations of the government, now he cares about it when it comes to the Epstein files. Like, obviously not. Anyone that has an above room temperature IQ recognizes that this is all BS. And not only that, look, 60% of Republicans believe that the government is hiding Epstein's alleged client list. 55% of Republicans believe that the government is hiding information on Epstein's death. So this idea that Republicans don't care about the Epstein files, it's obviously a lie. And we know it's a lie because we see that over the past couple of weeks, MAGA has been absolutely imploding. They are caving in on themselves.
There's another story that he broke up with Epstein because they were buds. There's no question they were very close for more than 10 years, which is what makes me believe Trump was on the Epstein plane and at Epstein's house. Of course, they were very good friends. Mm-hmm. But there's another story that Epstein took Trump to go see a property with him that Epstein was thinking of buying out of bankruptcy, and he wanted Trump to advise him on the property, and instead of advising him, Trump bought it. He bought it out from under Epstein. So
this is just a joke to them. All of this is a joke. They don't care about any of this stuff, do they? They don't care about the survivors. They don't care about what Donald Trump is potentially complicit in, given the overwhelming amount of evidence. Like, they just don't care about this stuff. This is all a game to them. Yeah, let's just have some giggles about how funny this potential pedophile is. Jesus.
Where you had Ro
With
Khanna,
the alleged
yeah,
victims.
and Thomas Massey with this parade of, it was so sordid and the promise of salacious details and then the women saying, actually, we're going to make our own list. Like the whole thing was so
Yeah.
after the
Where's that?
exactly. And it just seemed like, there was a lot like obvious money grubbing, obvious, coming together of the two sides because both sides see themselves as Trump's political opponents and enemies. The politicization, the money aspect of it, these women who were grown-ups when they met Jeffrey Epstein talking about themselves like they were children at the time. To me, that's really off-putting. It's kind of a slap in the face to the actual victims. The Virginia Giuffre aspect where there was just lie upon lie upon lie. Like the idea that this is kind of something that's going to bring Trump down with his own base, with the other side, I just find it to be all so sordid.
Yeah. They're they're blaming the victims. That's what she's doing. She's blaming the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's child sex trafficking exploits. I mean, this is just disgusting. Like, do I even need to respond to this? There is nothing that Donald Trump can do that will make these two upset to the point where they would disavow him. There could be video footage of him engaging in disgusting acts with children, and these two would still be like, well, you know, maybe the age of consent should be 12. Maybe the age of consent should be 15. Well, let's get to that part right now.
Yeah, in fact, at that same press conference, the lawyer for a group of the women actually said Jeffrey Epstein would prey upon women when they were underage, true and disgusting and horrible. And then the lawyer said, and when they came of age and he was no longer interested in them, he would then pass them on. So there was no pedophilia ring. There was a pedophile who did unspeakable things to vulnerable girls, and then they would age out of Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilic interests, at which point he would then start to pass them around to his friends, meaning that there were not actual crimes committed by anybody beyond, there's no pedophile ring. There's a pedophile and then a bunch of friends who were getting massages at that point from women who were no longer underage. This is from the lawyer at that press conference. So I think that kind of dispels a lot of the like salaciousness of the story. People are like, where is the justice for the victims? The justice is one of the people who did unspeakable things to them died in prison and the other one is still in prison. So like they got their justice and
No, they didn't. They did not get their justice. Are you kidding me? First of all, Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a minimum security all-female prison where she is currently living a luxurious life, has her own dog to keep her company because, like, God knows she must be going through some mental health issues right now and needs a service dog. She's bossing around everybody else in that prison, getting everything that she wants, unlimited toilet paper, is able to communicate with the outside world. In what universe do you think it's justice that this child sex trafficker is living a luxurious life after the U.S. Deputy Attorney General had a 9-hour private conversation with her in which she allegedly exonerated Trump, said that she never saw Trump do anything wrong, and then immediately right after she just gets transferred to a minimum security prison, living a luxurious life. I can't even begin to understand what universe you think you live in if you think this is justice, where Ghislaine Maxwell, after allegedly exonerating Trump, gets moved to a minimum security prison, is living a much better life, and is, for all I know, probably going to get a pardon at this point. And then Jeffrey Epstein, who everyone believes he did not take his own life, he did not unalive himself, someone else did. Now we can just believe the events that no one else believed in the first place. This is not justice. This is corruption.
I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal
Hmm.
to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn. Now they call it child sexual abuse material on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh, no, he was an actual
Hmm.
pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the
Right.
Epstein
Or
matters
anything else.
anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was like a,
Hmm.
I was under 10, I was under
Hmm.
14 when I first came within his purview. Look, it's
What was the point of this story? Why does this matter? Who cares? I don't care if they were 16, I don't care if they were 17. They're kids. Okay? We're talking about kids here. We're talking about children. Children that were exploited by rich, powerful billionaire men who have yet to face proper accountability. Why is she even bringing this up? This is why it's so strange. Is she trying to preemptively get the fire going just in case that it comes out that Donald Trump did something with a 15-year-old? And so that way all of her fans can be like, well, not a pedophile. Let's use the actual, I don't care what the actual term is. In what universe do you think this is appropriate? This isn't appropriate. This is crazy. This is insanity. Why is this being normalized? Why is this conversation even happening? This wasn't even relevant to anything that they were talking about, by the way. She just decided to bring this up. Why? Why would you ever do this? And what's crazy is that we already have more than enough to bury Trump. In a sane world, Trump would have been gone long ago because of all of the information that we've already uncovered. Again, the Wall Street Journal stuff, the recent Epstein emails, that we have enough. I wish we lived in a sane world in which we could treat Donald Trump in the same way that we treated Dr. Disrespect. Do you remember that guy? I used to love Dr. Disrespect, man. I was one of his biggest fans back in the day, up until we found out that the reason why he got fired from Twitch was because he was inappropriately messaging a minor. And it seemed like everyone just dumped him. Like after that, once everyone found out, they're like, hey, that's just something that you don't mess with. First of all, you're like in your 40s. What are you doing even messaging a minor in the first place? And second of all, what are you even doing messaging a minor inappropriately? So everyone pretty much dumped him. He still has like a huge following, and it's largely comprised of anti-woke people because he kind of tried to go onto the whole pro-MAGA train to try to salvage his career, and it seemed to have worked to some degree. But all of his fans pretty much are either like very politically right-wing or they're under the age. But by and large, if you tell someone in a conversation that you're a Dr. Disrespect fan, that doesn't look good. People do look down on Dr. Disrespect for what he did. So why aren't we treating Donald Trump in the same way? Why are we giving him so many excuses? The mental gymnastics that people are employing in order to try to justify everything that's been released is sickening. And it just goes to show you that the people who are in charge don't care about justice for these victims. They don't care. It doesn't matter. They grew up in a world where they could take whatever they wanted. Again, these people are rich. They're billionaires. They grew up in that world. And so whenever they're told no, they throw a tantrum, much like what Donald Trump has been consistently doing ever since people have been clamoring about the Epstein files. He's been throwing a tantrum. He does this over and over and over again. That's who he is as a person. He's a rich, privileged, spoiled kid. And whenever someone tells him no, he thinks it's the end of the world. Megyn Kelly, at the very least, has provided some entertainment. She's just constantly saying unhinged shit. I guess this is just the new normal now. This is the world that Trump has normalized.